Please, don't tell anyone you saw me like this. Ryan Mitchell stopped beneath the cold white glow of the parking lot lights, one hand still wrapped around his truck keys. 47 minutes earlier, he had been sitting alone at a table for two, watching the ice disappear in a glass of water while an empty chair quietly answered every question he had been too embarrassed to ask. His blind date wasn't coming. The message had arrived with 6 words. Sorry. Something came up. Can't make it. Ryan had stared at it, slipped his phone into his pocket, paid the check, and thanked the waitress as though nothing had happened. At 32, he had learned that dignity sometimes meant leaving without demanding an explanation. But now, 20 yards from the restaurant entrance, he was looking at someone who seemed to understand disappointment far better than he did. Emily Parker sat beside a dark sedan with her face turned away, blonde hair falling loosely across one cheek. At the office, Ryan had only seen her from conference rooms, company meetings, and the occasional elevator ride, where conversations somehow became quieter when she stepped inside. Emily Parker, 28, CEO, the woman whose signature appeared beneath decisions affecting hundreds of employees. Tonight, none of that seemed to matter. Ms. Parker, Ryan asked softly. She wiped her eyes quickly. Ryan, right? Yes, ma'am. You didn't see this. Okay. She looked up, surprised. Okay. If that's what you need. The parking lot hummed beneath the lights. Somewhere beyond the rows of cars, tires whispered across wet pavement, and a restaurant door opened briefly, releasing warm music before closing again. Ryan stayed where he was, far enough away to give her space. Do you want company? He asked. Or privacy? Emily looked at him for several seconds. No questions. No curiosity disguised as concern. No attempt to turn her worst moment into information someone could carry back to the office Monday morning. Company, she finally whispered. Ryan nodded once. Company it is. He leaned against the hood of his pickup several feet away. Emily gave a tired laugh. You're not going to ask why I'm crying? You'd tell me if you wanted me to know. That answer seemed to reach somewhere deeper than sympathy. Emily lowered her eyes. Ryan understood silence. He had lived with enough of it since becoming a single father. Some silence was loneliness. Some was grief. And some was grace, the quiet space you gave another person until they were ready to stand again. Were you eating here? Emily asked. Ryan glanced toward the restaurant. Supposed to be. Supposed to. He smiled faintly. Blind date. How did it go? Technically, she would have needed to show up for it to go badly. Emily stared at him, then laughed despite herself, covering her mouth as if laughter tonight felt almost inappropriate. I'm sorry. Don't be. Save me from ordering dessert. For the first time, her shoulders relaxed. 2 people stood beneath the same parking lot lights, both dressed for evenings that had ended before they began. Neither knew why the other had been left alone. Neither knew that the cancellations were not as accidental as they appeared. And Ryan certainly didn't know that by choosing not to walk away from a crying woman that night, he had just stepped into a truth that would eventually make an entire boardroom fall silent. Emily stared at the pavement for a moment, then drew a slow breath. I should probably go home. Ryan glanced at her car, then back at her face. Can you drive? Of course I can. That was not what I asked. She almost gave him the look that made department heads reconsider entire presentations, but whatever strength usually lived behind it had gone quiet. Not yet, she admitted. Ryan nodded toward the glowing sign across the street. There is a diner about a quarter-mile from here. Coffee is decent. Pie is questionable. That is a strange recommendation. I believe in informed consent when pie is involved. Another small laugh escaped her. 10 minutes later, they sat in a corner booth beneath warm amber lights while an old country song played softly overhead. Emily wrapped both hands around a mug of coffee. Ryan ordered decaf. You drink decaf on Friday night? She asked. I have a 7-year-old who considers 6:30 on Saturday morning sleeping in. Emily blinked. You have a daughter? Mia. Something changed in Ryan's voice when he said the name. The quiet man from the office suddenly seemed warmer. She is the reason I was on that blind date tonight. Your daughter arranged it? Not exactly. My sister arranged it. Mia approved my shirt. Emily looked at the plain blue button-down. She has good taste. Do not encourage her. She already thinks she runs the house. Ryan smiled, but his eyes carried an older sadness. Emily noticed the faint pale line where a wedding ring had once rested. She did not ask immediately. How long have you been raising her alone? Ryan looked into his coffee. A few years. 2 words. Nothing more. Emily understood the boundary. I am sorry. Thank you. The diner settled around them with the clink of silverware, the low murmur of late-night customers, and the smell of coffee and grilled onions drifting from the kitchen. There was no executive floor here, no employee badge, no polished conference table between them. Just 2 tired people sharing a booth because neither was ready to be alone. So, Emily said carefully, why were you sitting in that restaurant by yourself? Ryan leaned back. Apparently my blind date changed her mind. At the last minute. 47 minutes after the last minute. That is awful. There are worse things. You are not angry. Ryan considered that. Disappointed, sure. But nobody owes me affection because I put on a clean shirt. Emily lowered her gaze. The simplicity of it landed harder than he intended. Most people do not think that way. Maybe most people spend too much time trying to collect what they think they deserve. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she asked, do you know what I know about you from work? Ryan shook his head. Your employee number. Your department. Your performance rating. That sounds exciting. It sounds terrible, she said. I make decisions affecting people I barely know. Ryan did not rescue her from the thought. He simply let it breathe. And what do you know about me? Emily asked. You are my chief executive officer. That is all. Until tonight. Her eyes lifted. And now? Ryan smiled gently. Now I know you take your coffee black. You do not like being asked questions before you are ready. And you are much funnier in parking lots than quarterly meetings. Emily laughed, genuinely this time. Then Ryan's phone lit beside his coffee. A message from his sister appeared on the screen, asking whether the date had gone well. Emily's smile vanished when she saw the name. She knew Ryan's sister. More importantly, she knew exactly who had been asked to meet him that night. And suddenly, the empty chair Ryan had waited beside did not feel accidental at all. Emily looked away from the glowing screen before Ryan noticed the change in her expression. Your sister works with a lot of people? She asked. Ryan turned his phone face down. Rachel? She plans corporate events. Half her life is introductions, seating charts, and convincing lonely people they should meet other lonely people. Emily slowly stirred her coffee. And she arranged tonight? She said the woman was smart, independent, and tired of dating men who cared too much about status. Emily stopped stirring. The spoon touched the ceramic with a soft click. That is strangely specific. Ryan smiled. Rachel likes details. Outside the diner windows, headlights moved across the wet pavement and disappeared into the darkness. Emily watched them pass. She could have told him what she knew, but something held her back. Maybe uncertainty. Maybe fear that one more truth tonight would become one truth too many. Ryan noticed her silence, but did not press. You never told me why you were crying, he said. You do not have to. Emily wrapped her hands around the warm mug. I thought someone wanted to know me. Ryan waited. He was charming, she continued. Patient. He remembered small things. My favorite restaurant. How I take my coffee. He made me believe my job did not matter to him. Her voice softened. Tonight, I learned that my job was the only thing that mattered. Ryan's expression remained calm. What happened? He asked me to introduce him to 2 board members. Then he started talking about a contract his company wanted. When I said no, he became very honest about why he had been seeing me. Ryan looked toward the window. I am sorry. That is all. What else would help? Most people would tell me he was a fool. Maybe he was. But calling him one will not make tonight hurt less. Emily studied him. There was no performance in his kindness. No attempt to impress her. Maybe being alone is better than being loved for the wrong reasons, Ryan said quietly. The words settled between them. Emily blinked several times and looked down before emotion could reach her eyes again. You really believe that? I have to. His answer carried enough weight that she understood he was no longer talking about dating. Ryan glanced at the clock above the counter. I should get home. Mia will interrogate me tomorrow morning. Emily smiled. About your date? She prepared questions. 7 years old. Very organized. Ryan reached for the check, but Emily placed her hand near it first. I can pay. I know. Ryan, I probably make more before lunch than this diner makes in a week. Probably. Then why are you paying? He left a $20 bill beside the receipt. Because I invited you for coffee. No pride. No challenge. Just dignity. Emily let him. At the register, Ryan's phone buzzed again. This time the screen showed Rachel's message clearly. I still do not understand it. Jessica told me someone contacted her this afternoon and said you canceled. Ryan frowned. That is weird. Emily felt the air leave her lungs. What? He showed her the message. Apparently my blind date thought I canceled first. Emily stared at the screen. Do you know her name? Jessica Reed. The color drained from Emily's face. Jessica Reed was not a stranger. She worked in corporate communications at Parker Technologies, 3 floors below Emily's office. More troubling was what Emily remembered from earlier that afternoon. Jessica leaving Executive Vice President Charles Dalton's office carrying a sealed envelope, looking shaken. Emily said nothing. Not yet. Outside, Ryan walked her back toward the parking lot, unaware that his ruined evening had just crossed directly into her company. As they reached her car, Emily noticed something tucked beneath her windshield wiper, a small white valet claim ticket from the restaurant. There was no car number written on it, only a handwritten time, 7:15. Emily quietly slipped it into her coat pocket before Ryan could see. She did not know why it mattered. She only knew 7:15 was the exact minute her own evening had fallen apart, and much later, when the truth finally surfaced, that forgotten piece of paper would explain why neither of them had ended up where they were supposed to be. Monday morning returned everything to its proper place, at least on the surface. Ryan Mitchell arrived at Parker Technologies at 7:45, carrying a travel mug in one hand and the lunch Mia had insisted on packing for him in the other. The glass headquarters reflected a pale morning sky, and inside, polished floors gleamed beneath rows of white lights. By 8:15, Ryan was checking contractor schedules and reviewing maintenance estimates as if Friday night had never happened. Then the elevator doors opened. Emily Parker stepped out in a charcoal business suit, blonde hair neatly pulled back, expression composed. The woman from the parking lot was gone. The chief executive officer had returned. Their eyes met. Good morning, Miss Parker. Good morning, Mr. Mitchell. 3 seconds. 2 polite smiles. One entire evening left unspoken. Emily continued toward the executive elevators, but something followed her now. Awareness. Before Friday, Ryan had been another capable name buried inside operational reports. Now she noticed him. She noticed him thanking the security guard by name. She noticed him kneeling beside a broken supply cart, instead of calling someone else to handle it. She noticed him telling a nervous intern, "You caught the mistake before it became expensive. That is good work." No audience. No advantage. No reason except character. At 10:30, Emily entered a facilities planning meeting unexpectedly. Ryan was presenting a proposal to reduce renovation costs on the 4th floor without cutting accessibility improvements. Charles Dalton sat near the end of the conference table, silver-haired, polished, and visibly impatient. "We can save another $80,000 by postponing the accessibility upgrades," Charles said. Ryan remained standing beside the display. "We can." Charles leaned back. "Then why are we not?" "Because saving money by making the building harder for some employees to use is not really saving." The room quieted. Charles raised an eyebrow. "That is a moral argument, Mr. Mitchell. I asked for a financial one." Ryan clicked to the next page. Employee retention, compliance exposure, future reconstruction costs. Financial enough? A few executives lowered their eyes to hide smiles. Emily did not. "Proceed with Mr. Mitchell's plan," she said. Ryan nodded. "Thank you, Ms. Parker." Nothing in his face suggested he expected special treatment. That mattered to her more than she wanted to admit. After the meeting, Charles approached Emily near the hallway windows. "You seem unusually interested in facilities today." "I am interested in competent work." "Of course." His smile was pleasant, but his eyes were measuring. Emily watched him walk away and remembered Jessica Reed leaving his office Friday afternoon. Then she remembered the white valet ticket hidden inside her purse. 7:15. She had almost convinced herself it meant nothing. Almost. At lunchtime, Ryan received another message from Rachel. Jessica still insisted someone had called her from a Parker Technologies number and canceled the date on Ryan's behalf. Ryan stared at the message, confused, then locked his phone when a custodian approached with a damaged cartwheel. "Can you take a look at this when you get a chance?" the older man asked. Ryan set down his sandwich. "I have a chance now." From the mezzanine above, Emily saw the exchange. She watched Ryan crouch beside the cart in his pressed office shirt, listening to the custodian with the same attention he had given executives that morning. That was when something uncomfortable became clear. Emily had spent years learning how to recognize power, but Ryan carried something different. Respect followed him without being ordered to. Her phone vibrated. A message from Charles appeared. We should discuss Mitchell before Thursday's board review. Emily read it twice. Across the atrium, Ryan tightened the wheel, stood, and handed the cart back with a smile. Emily slipped the phone into her pocket. Friday night had entered Monday morning, and someone inside her company already seemed afraid of what Ryan Mitchell represented. By Saturday morning, Parker Technologies barely resembled the quiet glass building Ryan knew during the workweek. Blue and white balloons floated above the lobby, folding tables filled the atrium, and children raced between science exhibits while employees tried to balance coffee, conversation, and parenthood. It was the company family day, and Mia Mitchell had been talking about it since breakfast. Dad, you said there would be robots. I said there might be robots. That means robots. Ryan smiled as his 7-year-old pulled him toward the engineering display, her brown ponytail bouncing behind her. He had spent the morning introducing Mia to co-workers, answering her endless questions, and quietly hoping she would not reveal anything embarrassing. That hope lasted 23 minutes. Emily appeared near the children's art table wearing a simple cream sweater and dark slacks. Without the sharp formality she carried through Monday meetings. Mia saw her before Ryan did. Dad. Ryan followed her stare. What? Mia pointed. That is her. His stomach tightened. That is who? The sad lady. Emily had heard enough to stop walking. Ryan closed his eyes for half a second. Mia. What? Mia whispered loudly. You said you helped a lady who was sad. Emily covered a smile. Your father helped me have a better evening. Mia studied her carefully. Are you still sad? Ryan wanted the polished floor to open beneath him. Emily crouched slightly, so she and Mia were closer to eye level. Not today. Good. Mia nodded with serious approval. My dad is good when people are sad. He makes grilled cheese. Emily looked up at Ryan. That is an impressive qualification. Please do not put it in my performance review. She laughed, and 2 nearby employees turned in surprise. Ryan had heard Emily laugh before. Most of the building had not. Mia took Emily's hand and pulled her toward a table covered with colored paper. We are making cards for people who need cheering up. Ryan started to intervene, but Emily shook her head. For 10 quiet minutes, the chief executive officer of Parker Technologies sat beside a 7-year-old girl drawing crooked yellow stars with a blue marker. There was something almost sacred in the simplicity of it. No titles, no strategy, no one asking Emily for approval. Mia merely handed her a marker and expected her to color inside the lines. Dad wore that shirt for his date, Mia announced suddenly. Ryan nearly dropped his coffee. Emily glanced toward him. Did he? I picked it. Aunt Rachel said he needed to look handsome because the lady was nervous about meeting somebody new. Emily's marker stopped. Nervous. Aunt Rachel said she almost canceled because somebody told her dad was too busy for dating. Ryan frowned. Mia, when did Rachel say that? Friday morning. She was on the phone. Emily's eyes met his. Another detail. Another thread. Before Ryan could respond, Charles Dalton appeared across the atrium. He greeted several board members, but his attention shifted immediately toward Emily, Ryan, and Mia sitting together. His smile remained polished. His eyes did not. Emily noticed. So did Ryan. Mr. Mitchell, Charles called pleasantly. Family Day seems to be treating you well. Ryan stood. It is, sir. Charles glanced at Emily. Very well, apparently. The meaning beneath the words was thinly hidden. Emily rose calmly. Mia was teaching me how to make a card. Of course. Charles walked away. Mia watched him go, then whispered, He smiles like he is mad. Ryan nearly laughed. Emily did not. She was watching Charles cross toward the executive elevators. Then she noticed something clipped to the leather folder beneath his arm. A white valet claim ticket from the same restaurant, marked with the same handwritten time she had found beneath her windshield wiper. 7:15. Emily's breath caught. Ms. Parker? Ryan asked. She recovered quickly. Nothing. But it was not nothing. Friday night had left 2 canceled plans, 2 white tickets, and 1 executive who seemed far too interested in keeping Ryan Mitchell away from her. And for the first time, Emily wondered whether the person who had wanted them separated had accidentally done the one thing he feared most, brought them together. The first rumor reached Ryan before Monday lunch. It did not arrive in an email or through any official channel. It came in the way workplace rumors usually came, through a conversation that stopped the moment he entered the room. Two project managers stood beside the coffee station. One cleared his throat. The other suddenly became fascinated by his phone. Ryan poured his coffee and said nothing. By afternoon, the whispers had acquired details. Ryan had received special access to the chief executive officer. Ryan had influenced the fourth-floor renovation decision. Ryan was being positioned for promotion. None of it was true, but truth had one disadvantage gossip never suffered from. Truth was usually slower. At 3:20, Ryan received an email informing him that his role on the upcoming headquarters modernization project was under executive review. He read it twice, closed his laptop, and walked toward Emily's office. Her assistant barely had time to announce him. "Tell me you did not know about this," Ryan said. Emily looked up. "About what?" He placed a printed copy of the email on her desk. She read it, and her expression hardened. "I did not authorize this." "Then who did?" Emily already suspected the answer. "I will handle it." Ryan shook his head. "No, Ryan, someone is questioning your professional integrity." "Exactly. Then let me correct it." "With what?" "Your title." Silence filled the office. Beyond the glass walls, downtown traffic moved 12 floors below, small and distant. Emily stood. "I am the chief executive officer. If someone inside this company is spreading false information, it is my responsibility. Investigate it. Do not protect me from it." She stared at him. "There is a difference." "A big one." Ryan's voice remained quiet. "If you order people to respect me, that is not respect." Emily had spent years believing authority could solve almost anything if used carefully enough. Ryan was asking her to do something harder. Let the truth stand without holding it upright. He took a breath. "Remove me from the project until this is settled. You earned that assignment. Then the record will prove it." 3 sentences. No anger. No bargaining. No fear. Emily finally understood why Charles Dalton seemed uneasy around him. Ryan did not need power to remain standing. That evening, Emily requested an independent review of the project selection process, internal communications, and access logs connected to Ryan's canceled date. She also called Jessica Reed. Jessica arrived 20 minutes later, nervous enough to twist the strap of her purse between her fingers. "I need to ask about Friday," Emily said. Jessica went pale. "I never canceled on Ryan." Emily remained still. "Tell me exactly what happened." Jessica swallowed. "Someone called from the executive floor. He said Ryan had reconsidered. He said Ryan did not want to date someone from the company because it could damage his career." "Did you recognize the voice?" "No. But afterward, I was asked to deliver an envelope to Mr. Dalton's office." Emily's eyes sharpened. "What envelope?" "I do not know. His assistant gave it to me." Jessica hesitated. "But there was something else. When I left, Mr. Dalton was on the phone. I heard him say, 'Make sure both reservations fall apart before 7:15. The room became completely still. Emily slowly opened her purse and removed the white valet ticket. 7:15. The same time. The same restaurant. The same executive. But the independent review uncovered something even stranger before midnight. The call to Jessica had not come from Charles Dalton's office. It had come from a temporary conference room reserved that afternoon under Emily Parker's own executive credentials. Someone had not merely tried to cancel Ryan's date. Someone had deliberately created a trail designed to make it appear that Emily herself had done it. Emily called Ryan at 8:10 the next morning. "I need you in my office." He arrived 7 minutes later, carrying no notebook, no coffee, only the same steady expression she had seen in the parking lot. "The review found something," she said. Ryan closed the door behind him. "About the project?" "About Friday." She explained the call to Jessica, the temporary conference room, and the executive credentials attached to the reservation. Ryan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he looked through the glass wall toward the city. "So somebody wanted it to look like you canceled my date?" "Yes." "Why?" "That is what I intend to find out." Ryan turned back. "And Charles?" Emily placed the white valet ticket on her desk. He had one exactly like this on Saturday. Ryan studied the handwritten time. 7:15. The same time Jessica heard him mention. "That sounds convenient." Emily looked at him more carefully. "You think it is too convenient." "I think somebody smart enough to use your credentials would be smart enough not to carry evidence around where you could see it." The thought stopped her. She had been looking at Charles as the answer. Ryan was looking at him as another question. Before she could respond, her assistant called. The independent auditor had arrived. For the next 4 hours, records were compared quietly. Badge access, conference reservations, project scoring sheets, telephone logs. Ryan's modernization proposal had ranked first 3 weeks before the night at the restaurant. His cost projections had been independently verified. His selection had nothing to do with Emily. At 1:15, the auditor placed the final scoring report on the conference table. Mr. Mitchell earned the assignment before any personal interaction with Ms. Parker. Ryan nodded once. Then put me back on the project when the review is complete. Emily stared at him. You could ask for an apology. An apology does not fix a system that allowed a rumor to become evidence. The auditor looked up. Emily almost smiled. That was Ryan. No revenge. No theater. Just truth. Then the door opened and Jessica entered with Rachel Mitchell. Ryan stood immediately. Rachel. His sister looked troubled. I think I know how my name got involved. Rachel explained that 2 weeks earlier, she had coordinated a private networking dinner for several Parker Technologies executives. Charles Dalton had attended, but so had another board advisor whose name had never appeared in the internal review. During casual conversation, Rachel had mentioned trying to convince her brother to date again. I never gave anyone your number, she told Ryan. But I did mention Jessica because I thought you two might get along. Emily leaned forward. Who heard you? Rachel named the advisor. Emily's expression changed. The man was one of Charles Dalton's strongest rivals on the board. Suddenly, the pieces no longer formed the picture everyone expected. Charles might have known something was happening without being the person who started it. At 3:40, Emily met Charles privately. She placed the valet ticket between them. Why did you have this? Charles stared at it, then exhaled. Because I was at the restaurant. Why? Because someone told me you were meeting a man there who planned to embarrass you before Thursday's board review. Emily froze. Who told you? Charles reached into his folder and placed an unopened envelope on the table. The same person who told me Ryan Mitchell was using you for a promotion. Inside was a printed photograph of Ryan entering the restaurant Friday night, time-stamped 7/12. Beneath it were 6 typed words. He is part of her weakness. Emily felt the room grow cold. Ryan had not been targeted because he knew her. He had been targeted before they ever spoke. And somewhere inside Parker Technologies, someone had predicted that 2 lonely people would cross paths that night with frightening precision. By Thursday morning, the boardroom felt less like a place of business and more like a room waiting for someone to tell the truth. Rain traced thin lines down the tall windows. Coffee sat untouched beside leather folders. Emily Parker stood at the head of the table while Ryan Mitchell sat near the far end, calm in a navy jacket, his hands folded before him. Charles Dalton sat 3 seats away. No one smiled. Emily began without drama. Mr. Mitchell's project assignment was earned 3 weeks before our personal interaction. The independent review confirms that. She placed the scoring report on the table. His proposal ranked first in cost control, accessibility, and long-term value. A board member adjusted his glasses. Then why are we discussing him? Because someone wanted his reputation questioned. Emily displayed the communication records. A call to Jessica Reed. A conference room reserved under Emily's credentials. 2 canceled plans. A photograph of Ryan entering the restaurant. Then came the detail that changed everything. Security logs showed that Emily's credentials had not been used by Emily. They had been copied from a temporary access profile created by board advisor Gregory Hale, the same man Rachel remembered from the networking dinner. Charles leaned forward. Hale. Emily nodded. He knew about Ryan before Friday. He knew about Jessica. He also knew I had dinner plans at the same restaurant. Gregory's expression remained controlled. This is speculation. No, Emily said quietly. Speculation is what you created. 3 sentences followed. 3 facts. No raised voice. You arranged the conference room. You authorized the temporary profile. You sent the photograph to Charles. The room became still. Gregory looked toward Ryan. Even if that is true, Mitchell benefited from his connection to you. Ryan finally spoke. I did not ask for one. Gregory gave a thin smile. Yet here you are. Ryan did not flinch. Yes, here I am. Emily could have ended it with authority. She could have demanded apologies, removed Gregory from the room, and turned Ryan into someone she had publicly rescued. Instead, she stepped back. Mr. Mitchell, the board has reviewed the evidence. Is there anything you want from this company? Ryan looked around the table. Some faces showed embarrassment. Others showed regret. He thought of the stopped conversations, the whispers near the coffee station, the questions Mia might someday ask about the kind of man her father had been when people doubted him. "I do not want anyone ordered to like me," he said. "I do not want a promotion because this happened. I do not want compensation for being embarrassed." He paused. Rain whispered against the glass. "I just want my name back." No one moved. No one shuffled papers. Even Gregory lowered his eyes. Respect had entered the room without permission, and it belonged to the one man who had never demanded it. The board formally restored Ryan to the modernization project and ordered a full ethics review of Gregory's conduct. But as the meeting ended, Charles remained seated. "Emily," he said, "there is still something wrong." She turned. Charles placed his valet ticket beside hers. "I arrived at 7:15 because the message told me to watch the entrance. But this ticket was already on my windshield when I got there." Emily stared at him. Ryan stepped closer. 2 tickets. Same handwriting. Same time. Gregory had manipulated the calls and the records, but he could not have placed a ticket on Charles's car before Charles arrived. Emily slowly opened her purse and examined her own ticket again. For the first time, she noticed 3 tiny words pressed faintly beneath the handwritten time, almost hidden by the ink. "Table for 2." Ryan looked at her. "That is not a valet instruction." "No," Emily whispered. Somewhere beneath the corporate scheme was another plan, quieter and far more personal. Someone had wanted Ryan and Emily at that restaurant before Gregory ever decided to use the coincidence against them. And whoever had arranged it had been close enough to know exactly where both of them would be. 1 week later, Ryan received a message at 4:30 on Friday afternoon. "Your table is still available. 7 o'clock. No name. No explanation." He stared at it until Mia leaned across the kitchen counter. "You should wear the blue shirt." Ryan looked at his daughter. "Why?" She shrugged with the exaggerated innocence only a 7-year-old could manage. "Blue is nice." At 6:58, Ryan walked into the same restaurant where an empty chair had waited for him 2 weeks earlier. Warm lights reflected against dark wood. Silverware chimed softly. Near the window stood a table for 2. Emily was already there. No executive suit. No assistant. No guarded expression. Just a cream-colored blouse, blonde hair resting loosely over her shoulders, and a nervous smile Ryan had never seen inside Parker Technologies. "Did you send the message?" he asked. "No." "Then why are you here?" Emily lifted her phone. "I received one too." Ryan laughed softly. "That is either romantic or deeply concerning." "I was hoping for romantic." They sat. No board reports. No project scores. No rumors. For nearly an hour, they talked about ordinary things. Mia's obsession with pancakes shaped like animals. Emily's inability to keep houseplants alive. Ryan's habit of fixing appliances long after replacing them would have been easier. Somewhere between coffee and dessert, the distance between chief executive officer and employee disappeared. Emily finally placed the white ticket on the table. "I found out who printed these." Ryan looked up. "Gregory." "No." She turned the ticket over. On the back was a tiny restaurant logo and an employee code. The manager checked the system. "Someone ordered 2 blank tickets 3 days before that Friday." "Who?" Before Emily could answer, a familiar voice came from behind Ryan. "Technically, I did." Ryan turned. Rachel stood beside the hostess station. Next to her was Mia, wearing the proud expression of someone who had successfully hidden a birthday present. "Rachel," Ryan said. His sister raised both hands. "Before you get mad, the original plan was much simpler." She explained that Jessica had never been the first person she intended Ryan to meet. Jessica had been a backup after the original woman declined the introduction. The original woman was Emily. Months earlier, Rachel had coordinated a charity event where Emily had quietly stayed behind to help an elderly volunteer clean up after everyone else had left. Rachel had thought immediately of her brother. "I asked Emily anonymously if she would consider meeting a single father who cared more about character than status," Rachel said. Emily stared at her. "That was you." Rachel nodded. "You said no because you were already seeing someone. So I arranged Jessica for Ryan instead." But Mia had heard me talking. Ryan slowly turned toward his daughter. Mia looked at her shoes. "I thought the sad lady sounded better." "Mia, you always say people deserve second chances." Rachel tried not to laugh. "She convinced me to reserve the same restaurant in case circumstances changed. I printed the tickets." Gregory discovered pieces of the plan through the networking dinner and twisted them into his board scheme. I did not know any of that until the investigation. Ryan looked from Rachel to Emily, then to Mia. So the tickets. Mia raised one finger. That part was me. Emily covered her mouth, laughing. 7:15? Ryan asked. You always say 15 minutes early is on time. For a moment, nobody spoke. The great mystery that had unsettled executives and filled a boardroom with suspicion had begun with a little girl who wanted her father to stop eating dinner alone. Rachel had created the possibility. Gregory had tried to exploit it. But Mia had quietly placed the final pieces where two lonely people might find them. Are you mad? She asked. Ryan crouched beside her. We are going to have a very long conversation about interfering with grown-up relationships. Mia nodded solemnly. Tomorrow. Ryan sighed. Tomorrow. Emily smiled. She negotiates well. Mia leaned toward her father and whispered loudly. Ask her if she wants a second date. Ryan stood, suddenly looking less confident than he had before an entire board of directors. Emily saved him. I would. Ryan smiled. Then maybe this counts as a second chance. Emily shook her head gently. No, I think this is the first real one. Mia slipped her small hand into Ryan's, and the room seemed to soften around them. There was no miracle measured in money, no grand reward, no applause. Just truth after misunderstanding, respect after judgment, and grace arriving through an empty chair that had never truly been empty. Sometimes dignity does not demand to be seen. Sometimes love does not arrive when invited. And sometimes the person quietly arranging your second chance is only 7 years old.